Alpha Declan Thornwood checked his daughter's coat one more time. The fabric shimmered under the strange silver lights of the Lunar Council Hall. Arya smiled up at him, her missing front tooth making her look even younger than her 7 years. "Papa, I'm fine," she said, pulling away gently. "You checked it 4 times already." Around them, wolves from dozens of packs moved through the corridor. Some walked with rigid alpha posture. Others moved with beta efficiency, or omega grace. The hierarchy was visible in every gesture, every lowered gaze. Arya pressed her nose against the viewing window, watching the full moon rise over the mountains. Declan hadn't wanted to bring her here. The council hall sat at the border of neutral territory, far from their safe southern packlands. But his mate was away negotiating trade routes, and the school break meant Arya had nowhere else to go. The diplomatic summit was supposed to be safe, just formal greetings and careful conversations with pack leaders from across the continent. "Stay close to me," Declan said. "No wandering off." "I know, Papa. I know." Arya skipped ahead, her shoes making soft sounds on polished stone. The council chamber doors opened with a heavy groan. Inside, the room stretched up toward a domed ceiling carved with moon phases. Floating platforms held refreshments from different territories. Some looked normal, others moved on their own. Arya stopped and stared. Alpha Torvin stood near the entrance. His fur in wolf form was reportedly coal black, and even in human form, his presence was crushing. He came from the Iron Ridge pack, where everyone bowed or bled. When he saw Declan, his lip curled slightly, what passed for a smile among his kind. "Alpha Declan," Torvin said, voice like grinding gravel. "You brought your pup." "My daughter, Arya." Declan put his hand on her shoulder. "I hope that's acceptable." "Pups are rare at these gatherings." Torvin looked down at Arya. "They belong in dens, not council halls." "I'm not that little," Arya said. "I'm tall for my age." Torvin's eyes widened slightly. Declan knew that look. Most packs didn't let their young speak to alphas so freely, but Arya had never learned to lower her eyes or shrink herself. Luna Serena approached from the left. She was elegant and cold, with silver hair and eyes like chips of ice. Her pack came from the northern wastes where weakness meant death. "The southern alpha brought a pup," Serena said, voice carrying clear disapproval. "How unconventional." "Arya wanted to see the council hall," Declan explained. "We do not bring our young to diplomatic functions," Serena said. "They are kept in the nursery until they present as alpha, beta, or omega." Arya tugged on Declan's sleeve. "What's presenting?" "I'll explain later," Declan whispered. The room filled with more pack leaders. Declan recognized some from previous summits. Others were new, territorial alphas who rarely left their lands. They all kept glancing at Arya. Young pups were still strange to most of the continental packs. The southern territories had only joined the Lunar Council 4 years ago. Many leaders still didn't understand their more relaxed hierarchy. A loud howl echoed through the hall, recorded, ceremonial. Everyone stopped talking. A hologram appeared in the center of the room, shimmering with moonlight. The council's spokesperson. "Honored alphas," the hologram said, "tonight we gather to discuss potential peace with the Blood Moon King." Whispers spread like wildfire. Declan felt his chest tighten. The Blood Moon King. He'd read about him in classified files. An ancient alpha who controlled the deadliest pack on the continent. Wolves who answered to no council, recognized no law but his. He'd destroyed entire packs, ignored all attempts at contact, and killed anyone who entered his territory without permission. The Blood Moon King was invited to this summit, the hologram continued. We do not expect him to attend, but the invitation demonstrates our commitment to unity. Torvin moved closer to Declan. "This is foolish," he said quietly. "The Blood Moon King cannot be reasoned with. He's a monster." "Have you ever met him?" Arya asked. Torvin looked down at her. No one has met him and lived to speak of it. Not in 300 years. Then how do you know he's a monster? Arya tilted her head. Declan squeezed her shoulder. Arya, not now. Serena's eyes narrowed. The pup asks dangerous questions. The Blood Moon Pack slaughtered a council patrol 2 months ago. 30 wolves. 30 lives. They entered Blood Moon territory without permission, another Alpha said. The rules were clear. There should be no territory that is forbidden, Torvin argued. The continent belongs to all packs. The debate continued. Declan had heard it all before. The Lunar Council was divided. Some wanted peace with the Blood Moon King. Others wanted to build armies strong enough to challenge him. A few wanted to simply avoid his territory forever. Arya wandered toward the refreshment platforms. Declan followed, keeping her in sight. She pointed at something that looked like honeycomb, but glowed faintly blue. Can I try that? Absolutely not. She laughed and moved to the next platform. Declan relaxed slightly. Maybe this would be a normal, boring evening after all. The temperature in the room suddenly spiked. Declan felt sweat on his forehead. Other Alphas noticed too, looking around with growing alarm. Then the air in the center of the hall began to shimmer with heat. Declan's blood went cold. He grabbed Arya's hand. Get behind me. Now. But Arya didn't move. She stared at the shimmering air with wide eyes. Papa, she whispered. Something's coming. The shimmer grew brighter, hotter. Around the hall, Alphas backed toward the walls. Some ran for exits. Others stood frozen in place. Security Chief Kragan barked orders into his radio. He was massive even by Alpha standards, built like a tank, with scars covering his arms. His pack came from the war territories where fighting was a way of life. All attendees move to safe zones, Kragan shouted. Activate emergency barriers. Silver energy fields appeared throughout the room, creating protective walls reinforced with mountain ash and wolfsbane. Declan pulled Arya behind one. Through the transparent barrier, they could still see the center of the hall. The shimmer exploded into black smoke that didn't choke or burn. It simply hung in the air, twisting and turning like a living thing. Then it began to take shape. First came the wolf, enormous, the size of a small car. Fur as black as midnight, each strand seeming to absorb light. Eyes like molten gold, burning with an intensity that made Declan's wolf whimper and press down in submission. The shift happened in seconds. The wolf became a man. He was tall, easily 7 feet, with shoulders that blocked out the lights behind him. His skin was marked with ritual scars, silver lines that showed centuries of battles won. His hair was long and black, tied back with leather cord. He wore simple clothes, black pants, black shirt, but moved like violence contained in human flesh. The Blood Moon King stood in the council hall. The room was completely silent. Even the Alphas who'd been shouting stopped making any sound. Arya pressed against the barrier, her nose almost touching it. He's sad, she whispered. Declan couldn't speak. He'd seen pictures in the files, but they hadn't prepared him for this. The king radiated power that made the air heavy. Every instinct screamed at Declan to bow, to submit, to look away. But he couldn't stop staring. The king's head turned slowly, taking in the room. His eyes passed over the hiding Alphas. Some of them made small sounds of fear, whimpers they couldn't control. Then he spoke. His voice was deep, like thunder rolling through mountains. I am Kale Bloodmoon, AlfaKing of the Northern Wastes. I accept your invitation. Torvin stood behind a barrier near the back, his whole body shaking. Impossible. He never responds. He never comes. Serena's hands clutched her arms. We shouldn't have invited him. This is a mistake. Kyle's head turned toward where they spoke. His eyes narrowed, not with anger, but something colder. Calculation. You invite me, then call it a mistake. His lip curled, showing one sharp canine. Your packs confuse me. Kragan stepped forward, though he stayed behind his barrier. Great Alpha, we are honored by your presence. We did not expect. You invited me expecting I would not come. Kyle's voice was flat. Every pack in this room wanted to appear peaceful, while hoping I would stay away. I can smell your fear. Arya pulled away from her father. Before Declan could grab her, she ducked under the barrier. It was set too high, meant to stop adults. She slipped through easily. Arya, no! Declan reached for her, but the barrier blocked him. He slammed his fists against it. Arya, get back here! She didn't listen. She walked toward the Blood Moon King, her small shoes clicking on the stone floor. Every eye in the room watched her. Several alphas gasped. Torvin covered his eyes with his hands. Kyle lowered his massive frame slightly, golden eyes focusing on the small pup walking toward him. Smoke seemed to drift from his skin, residual power from the shift. Pup, Kale said. You are not afraid. Arya stopped a few feet away. She had to tilt her head all the way back to look at his face. Should I be? Every other wolf here fears me. They don't know you, Arya said simply. I don't know you either, but you look lonely. Kale's eyes widened. For a moment, the ancient alpha didn't move, didn't breathe. Then he lowered himself to one knee, bringing his face down to Arya's level. She could have reached out and touched him. Lonely, Kyle repeated, the word sounding strange in his thunderous voice. No one has asked me that before. Well, you do. Arya took a step closer. Your eyes look sad, like when my friend Milo moved away, and I couldn't play with him anymore. The room held its breath. Declan pressed against the barrier so hard, it began to beep warnings. Kragan had his hand on a silver blade, though everyone knew weapons wouldn't stop the Blood Moon King. Kale stared at Arya. His eyes, ancient and filled with the weight of centuries, studied the pup. 300 years I have lived, Kale said quietly, and you are the first to ask if I am lonely. Is that a yes? It is. His voice grew softer. My pack withdrew from the continent long ago. We were hunted, betrayed, used. We learned that other packs saw us only as weapons or obstacles, never as wolves who might want peace. Arya reached up and put her small hand on Kyle's cheek, right over one of the ritual scars. Kale went very still. The power radiating from him should have burned her, should have made her wolf submit and cower. But it didn't. It felt warm, like standing in sunlight. I'm sorry they were mean to you, Arya said. Then she stood on her tiptoes and kissed his forehead. Torvin and Serena both froze completely, their bodies locked up, their wolves' response to overwhelming shock. Several other alphas collapsed. Declan's legs went weak. A pulse of power washed through the room, not violent, but overwhelming. It felt like a wave of emotion made physical. Surprise mixed with something that felt like crying and laughing at the same time. Kyle raised his head slowly. His eyes were brighter now, glowing like small suns. He looked at Arya, then at the assembled pack leaders, then back at Arya. Curious wolves, these southerners, Kale said, voice rough with emotion. Tell me, small one, what is your name? Arya Thornwood. Arya Thornwood. Kyle seemed to taste the name. You have given me something I have not received in longer than your entire pack has existed. What's that? Kindness without expectation, connection without calculation. Kale stood to his full height. I came here tonight to see if the council was worth my time. I have my answer now. The ancient Alpha turned to address the room. I will speak with your council, but I will speak through this pup and her pack. The southern wolves are the only ones who approached me as a wolf rather than a problem. Then Kale looked back at Arya, his voice lowering. Would you like to run with my pack sometime, Arya Thornwood? In the northern wastes, under the blood moon? Arya's face lit up. Really? Can I, Papa? Declan still couldn't make words come out. He nodded weakly. Then it is settled, Kyle said. His form began to shimmer again, smoke and shadow gathering around him. We will speak again soon, little one. The Blood Moon King vanished, leaving only warm air and the smell of pine in winter. Arya walked back to her father. The barrier dropped, and Declan grabbed her in a hug so tight she squeaked. Around them, the pack leaders slowly began to move again, and everything changed. The emergency council chamber was smaller than the main hall. Plain stone walls surrounded a circular table with seats for 15 representatives. Only 10 were filled. The meeting had been called so quickly that many alphas couldn't arrive in time. Declan sat with Arya beside him. She swung her legs under the chair, still too short to reach the floor. Her eyes wandered around the room, taking in all the different pack leaders. Declan's hands shook. He clasped them together and tried to look calm. Council Elder Bjorn entered through the main door. He was ancient, even by werewolf standards. His hair was white, his face deeply lined. He moved slowly, supported by a carved walking stick. His pack came from the old forest territories where the first wolves had lived. We will begin, Bjorn said, voice patient like a grandfather. What happened tonight has no precedent in recorded history. A hologram appeared above the table, showing Kale materializing in the hall. Then it showed Arya walking toward him. Then the kiss. Torvin shifted in his seat, his usual confidence shaken. The southern pup approached the Blood Moon King without authorization. This could have resulted in disaster. But it did not, Serena said, her ice-chip eyes fixed on the hologram. The king responded positively. We did not anticipate this. No one could have anticipated this, another alpha added. The Blood Moon King does not respond to anyone. His pack has been isolated for 3 centuries. Bjorn tapped his walking stick on the floor. Let us hear from Alpha Declan and from his daughter. Declan cleared his throat. I apologize for Arya's actions. She's 7 years old. She didn't understand the danger. Did you understand the danger, pup? Bjorn asked Arya directly. Arya thought about it. Papa was scared. Everyone was scared. But Alpha Kale didn't seem mean. He seemed sad. Sad? Torvin leaned forward. You believe the Blood Moon King was sad? Yeah. His eyes. Looked how I feel when I'm at a new school and nobody wants to play with me. Silence filled the room. The pack leaders looked at each other, some confused, others thinking hard. Dr. Rivers spoke up from the corner. She was a human xenobiologist who studied wolf pack dynamics, one of the few humans trusted by the Lunar Council. May I offer an observation? Dr. Rivers asked. Bjorn nodded. What Arya did goes against every pack protocol we have, Dr. Rivers said. But it worked, and I think I know why. She pulled up data on her tablet. Every pack at that summit approached the situation through a specific lens. Alpha Torvin's pack sees the world through combat assessment. Luna Serena's pack processes things through survival calculation. But southern packs, especially their pups, have a different approach. Which is? Bjorn asked. Empathy, connection. Arya saw a wolf and wondered if he was lonely. That's not a strategic thought. It's an emotional one. The hologram shifted, showing Kale's face when Arya asked if he was lonely. His expression was clear even to packs who normally struggled to read Blood Moon wolves. Surprise, pain, recognition. The Blood Moon King said something important, Dr. Rivers continued. He said, You are the first to ask if I am lonely. 300 years, and no one asked about his feelings. They only thought about what he could do for them, or to them. Torvin's jaw clenched. We consider emotions weakness in pack politics. Strength and territory matter. Feelings do not. And that's why your pack never made contact with the Blood Moon wolves, Dr. Rivers said gently. You were trying to negotiate with an alpha, who reads emotional intent as clearly as you read combat readiness. A new hologram appeared, this time showing Kale's massive form clearly. His voice filled the chamber. "I have been listening to your discussion," Kale said. "Your technology allows me to observe from my territory. I wish to clarify some things." Every Alpha sat up straighter. Bjorn bowed his head. "Great Alpha, we are honored." "My pack withdrew from the continent centuries ago," Kale began. "It was not because we are monsters, as some believe. It was because every pack we met wanted something from us. Our strength to win their wars. Our territory for their expansion. Our bloodline for their heirs. We were never seen as wolves. We were tools or obstacles." Arya raised her hand like she was in school. Kale's eyes found her in the hologram. "Yes, Arya Thornwood." "Why didn't you just tell everyone that?" "We tried many times. But when we spoke of isolation, other packs called us weak. When we set boundaries, they called us aggressive. When we defended ourselves, they called us monsters." Kale's form seemed to grow darker. "So we stopped trying. We closed our borders and let the continent forget us." "But you came tonight," Bjorn said. "Why?" "Curiosity. The southern packs are new to the council. I wanted to see what made them different." Kale's gaze returned to Arya. "And I found my answer. This pup approached me without fear, without greed, without any goal except connection. She asked if I was lonely. Do you understand how powerful that is?" Serena's hands moved in a gesture of confusion. "But it was just a question." "It was recognition," Kale said. "She saw me as a wolf who could feel lonely, not as a creature to be feared or used, simply as someone who might need a friend." The hologram showed Arya kissing Kale's forehead again, this time in slow motion. Everyone could see the moment when Kale's eyes changed, when something ancient and tired suddenly looked young again. "The kiss was affection," Dr. Rivers said quietly. "Pure, uncomplicated affection given freely with no expectation of return. Most packs don't do that. Most calculate cost and benefit of every interaction." "My pack shares territory through blood bonds," Serena said slowly. "We do not understand being alone. We cannot feel loneliness because we are never separate from our kin." "My pack values strength above all," Torvin added. "We do not show weakness. Admitting loneliness would be shameful." "And that," Kale said, "is why your packs could never reach us. You cannot connect with someone if you cannot understand their pain." Bjorn leaned on his walking stick. "What do you propose, Great Alpha?" "The southern packs understand something other packs have forgotten or never learned. They lead with their hearts. They see individuals, not just positions in hierarchy." Kale's form seemed to solidify in the hologram. "I propose an alliance between my pack and the southern territories. We will open our borders to them. We will share knowledge, hunting grounds, and through them, we will reconnect with the Lunar Council." The room erupted. Pack leaders spoke over each other, some protesting, others asking questions. Torvin stood up, voice cutting through the noise. "This gives the southern packs unfair advantage. They will have access to Blood Moon territory, Blood Moon strength, Blood Moon protection." "Yes," Kale said simply. "They will, because they earned it by being kind." Arya tugged on her father's sleeve. "Papa, what's everyone so upset about?" Declan looked at his daughter, 7 years old, missing a tooth, wearing a coat that was getting too small. She'd just changed the entire balance of continental power by offering friendship to someone who looked lonely. "They're not upset, sweetheart," Declan said. "They're just surprised." "Because I was nice?" "Because nice matters more than they thought it did." Kale's hologram smiled, showing sharp teeth, but the expression was genuine. "The pup understands. Perhaps the rest of you will learn." Declan stood at the border of Blood Moon territory, watching the sun set over mountains that looked like they'd been carved from obsidian. Arya bounced beside him, her backpack full of snacks and a stuffed wolf she'd insisted on bringing. "When will Alpha Kale get here?" she asked for the 5th time. "Soon, sweetheart." The invitation had arrived written on parchment that smelled like winter, a formal request for the Southern Alpha and his daughter to visit Blood Moon lands. The Lunar Council had spent 3 weeks debating protocol, security measures, and political implications. Declan had ignored most of it. His daughter had made a friend, and that friend had extended an invitation. Everything else was noise. The air shimmered with heat, and Kale appeared, not in his massive wolf form this time, but simply walking out of the shadows, as if he'd always been there. He wore dark traveling clothes, and his hair hung loose around his shoulders. Declan's breath caught. He'd seen Kale twice since the summit, both times through holograms during council meetings. In person, without the chaos of the hall, Kale was different. Still powerful, still intimidating, but there was something else. A gentleness in how he moved, a carefulness that reminded Declan of how he acted around Arya. "Arya Thornwood," Kyle said, and his severe face softened into something almost resembling a smile. "You came." Arya ran forward and hugged his leg, the highest part of him she could reach. "You said we could run under the blood moon." "I did." Kale's large hand rested gently on her head, then his golden eyes lifted to Declan. "Alpha Declan, thank you for trusting me with your daughter. Thank you for inviting us." Declan stepped forward, offering his hand. Kale looked at it for a moment, then took it. His grip was warm and careful, the handshake of someone who'd learned to control his strength around things that could break. The touch lasted a moment too long. Declan pulled his hand back, his heart beating faster than it should. "Come," Kale said. "My pack is curious to meet the pup who made their king smile." Blood Moon territory was nothing like Declan expected. He'd imagined something harsh and militaristic, all stone fortresses and battle-scarred wolves. Instead, he found a village nestled in a valley of dark pines. Cabins with warm lights spilling from windows. Gardens with late-season vegetables. Wolf pups playing in a clearing, their laughter carrying on the wind. "You look surprised," Kale said, walking beside him while Arya ran ahead to see the pups. "I am," Declan admitted. "The reports made your pack sound like warriors who lived for battle." "We are warriors, but we are also wolves who want homes, families, peace." Kale's jaw tightened. "The continent only ever saw one part of us. We stopped trying to show them the rest." An elderly wolf approached, her hair silver, her eyes kind. She bowed to Kale, then smiled at Declan. "This is Grandmother Mira," Kale said. "She helped raise me when I was young." "A very difficult task," Mira said with warmth in her voice. "He was a stubborn pup, always asking why we had to hide, why we couldn't have friends from other packs." Kale looked away, a muscle working in his jaw. Declan felt something twist in his chest. He looked at Kale, this ancient, powerful alpha who'd terrified an entire council hall, and suddenly saw the lonely child underneath. "Arya asks the same questions," Declan said quietly. "Why can't everyone just be friends? Why does hierarchy matter so much?" Kyle's eyes met his. "And what do you tell her?" "That I don't have good answers. That maybe she's right to ask." Something passed between them. Understanding, recognition, the weight of being parents trying to raise children in a world that didn't always make sense. "Come," Mira said. "I'll watch your daughter while you two talk. The pups will keep her busy for hours." Kyle led Declan up a winding path to a cabin on the hillside. Inside, it was simple but comfortable, a fireplace, worn furniture, shelves full of old books. "This is where I live," Kyle said, "away from the main village. I like the quiet." "It's peaceful," Declan said, meaning it. Kale poured 2 glasses of something amber from a bottle. "Honey wine. We make it ourselves." They sat by the fireplace. Outside, the moon was rising. Not quite full, but close. Declan could feel its pull in his blood, the urge to shift and run. "Your mate," Kale said after a long silence. "Arya mentioned her mother is away often." "We're separated," Declan said, the words easier now after 2 years. "Amicable. We're better as co-parents than as partners. She's negotiating trade routes in the Western Territories." Kale nodded slowly. "And you raise Arya alone, most of the time." "I do. Declan smiled. "It's the best thing I've ever done. She's smart, brave, kind. Better than I could have hoped for. She is remarkable." Kale's voice grew soft. "When she asked if I was lonely, it was the first time in centuries anyone had seen me as something other than a threat or a tool." "Are you?" Declan asked. "Lonely?" Kale's fingers tightened on his glass. "Yes. I have my pack, but they see me as their king. Grandmother Mira sees the pup I was, but no one," he paused, "no one has seen me as simply Kale in a very long time." Declan set down his glass, his heart hammered against his ribs. "I see you." Kale's head turned sharply. Those golden eyes, ancient and powerful, looked vulnerable for the first time. "You don't know me, Declan Thornwood." "Then let me." Declan's voice came out rougher than he intended. "I see how gentle you are with Arya. I see how you built a home here, not a fortress. I see an alpha who withdrew not because he was cruel, but because he was tired of being hurt." Kale stood abruptly, moving to the window. His shoulders were tense. "You should not say such things." "Why not?" "Because I am the Blood Moon King. I have lived 300 years. I have killed to protect my pack. I am lonely," Declan finished, standing too. "You're lonely, Kale. And so am I." The confession hung in the air between them. Kale turned slowly. In the firelight, his face looked younger, less like ancient stone, more like a man who'd carried burdens too long. "I cannot offer you what normal wolves have," Kale said quietly. "My life is complicated. My past is dark. My pack is full of wolves who grow vegetables and raise pups and make honey wine," Declan interrupted. He stepped closer. "You're not a monster, Kyle. You're just someone who hasn't had a reason to hope in a long time." Kale's breath caught. "And you think you could be that reason?" "I think my daughter already is, and I think—" Declan closed the distance between them. "I think I'd like to try." Kale's hand came up, cupping Declan's face with a gentleness that belied his strength. His thumb brushed across Declan's cheekbone. "You would choose this?" Kyle whispered. "Choose me?" "I'm choosing the possibility of something real," Declan said. "With someone who understands what it means to lead, to sacrifice, to love fiercely, and protect even more fiercely." Kyle kissed him then, soft at first, tentative as if he'd forgotten how. Then deeper, 300 years of loneliness pouring into the connection. When they pulled apart, both were breathing hard. "This will complicate things with the council," Kale said, but he was almost smiling. "Everything about you complicates things with the council," Declan laughed. "Might as well give them something real to talk about." 2 months later, the Lunar Council chamber was packed. Every alpha on the continent had come for this meeting, the formal signing of the alliance between the Southern Territories and the Blood Moon Pack. Arya sat in the front row, swinging her legs and coloring a picture of wolves under a moon. Grandmother Mira sat beside her, pointing out details in the drawing. Declan stood at the signing table with Kale beside him. The ancient alpha looked uncomfortable in formal council robes, but he'd agreed to wear them for the ceremony. Elder Bjorn raised his hands. "Today we witness something unprecedented. The Blood Moon Pack rejoins the Continental Alliance after 3 centuries of isolation." Torvin stood in the back, his expression unreadable. Serena watched with her ice-chip eyes, calculating as always. But there were other faces too. Younger alphas, betas from progressive packs, even some Omegas who'd been allowed to attend. They looked hopeful. This alliance was built on the simplest foundation, Bjorn continued. 1 pup's kindness, 1 alpha's courage to accept it, and 2 alphas' willingness to build something new. Kale's hand found Declan's under the table, their fingers intertwined. The room noticed. Whispers spread like wildfire. "Let them talk," Kale murmured. "Always do," Declan whispered back. They signed the treaty together, Kale's bold script next to Declan's careful signature. When they finished, Arya jumped up from her seat and ran to them, hugging both their legs. "Does this mean Alpha Kale can come to my birthday party?" she asked loudly. The room went silent. Then Kale, the Blood Moon King, the ancient terror of the northern wastes, laughed. It was rusty, unpracticed, but genuine. "Yes, little one, I will come to your birthday party." Arya beamed. "And Papa says you're my other papa now. Is that true?" Declan's face went red. They'd talked about how to tell Arya, but apparently she'd figured it out on her own. Kale knelt down to her level. "Would you like that?" "Yeah, then I'll have 2 papas who are alphas and Mama who does trade stuff. That's the best family ever." The ancient alpha's eyes grew bright. He pulled Arya into a hug, and over her head his gaze found Declan's. "Thank you," his expression said, "for seeing me, for choosing me." Declan smiled back. "Always." The council continued their meeting, but it didn't matter anymore. The real treaty had been signed weeks ago in a cabin on a hillside, between 2 lonely wolves who'd found something neither expected. A second chance, a new family, a future built on the simplest truth Arya had known all along. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is ask someone if they're lonely, and sometimes the bravest thing you can do is admit that you are.